All right, kids, welcome to the Darkness Retreat edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. As we sit here in a pitch black studio contemplating the future greatness of our podcast empire.
Dude, I really wanted to do the ayahuasca thing where I got to puke and I got to diarrhea and I've got to throw up. What's this darkness retreat stuff?
There you go. Welcome to Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Here we are recording Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. This drops Thursday, February 9th. And as you've guessed, we are making fun of Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. We'll get to it. First segment, as always, here. Not for much longer.
No.
But first segment, as always, here.
During
Through the fall, into the winter, is all about NFL.
Season, it's NFL.
And of course, as you sit there waiting, anticipating our football picks for the final game of the season, the 22-23 season, the Super Bowl, we will have those for you at the end of this segment. But of course, we have to talk about salary cap. We have to talk about proposed bills in the great state of Tennessee, where some people are showing some semblance of sanity and proposing to make Super Bowl Monday a national holiday. We've got to talk about coordinator changes, which seems to be the hot thing this year. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, the Cowboys say Mike McCarthy's going to call the plays. But somehow they decided they should hire an offensive coordinator. So they go with Brian Schottenheimer.
Okay.
And you can hear the crickets. You let Kellen Moore go, who was snatched up in about 5 seconds by the Chargers. And then you bring in Brian Schottenheimer to be like a figurehead.
Yeah.
Because if indeed Mike McCarthy is going to be the one calling the plays.
What's the point?
Now the Saints decide to go with Joe Woods as their defensive coordinator. Joe Woods comes over from Cleveland, where he was fired. That defense in Cleveland wasn't half bad.
No, it was pretty damn good.
So this could look like a really good hire for the Saints, especially.
Yeah. Well, you figure Cleveland's defense kind of started to falter because they were on the field so damn much. They were gassed by the end of the game.
As they waited and waited and waited for Deshaun Watson's suspension to end. Now, I'm not a big fan of what the Saints have been doing the past couple of years. I'm not a big fan of the NFL pushing off, as you've mentioned time and time again, the discipline for Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
But I like this move, and I also like the fact that the Saints have got permission to talk to Derek Carr.
Yes. The Saints are in the driver's seat on this. The Raiders have to decide by February 15th whether or not they're going to release him or not.
Why wouldn't you take a 7th-round pick
to get
instead of
releasing and taking the full cap hit?
Right. I would think there'd be some kind of a bidding war.
If you're the Saints, why the hell wouldn't you wait? You got permission to talk to him. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to give anything up.
Work out the contract details.
And everything, and then wait.
Division, as we know, was so bad. So bad. Now Tom Brady's gone. Yeah. You have got that division sitting there waiting for it, the taking.
Yeah, they have enough offensive weapons and a decent enough defense that with Derek Carr, they should be in really good shape.
Yep. And then you're going to start to see the whole quarterback carousel, the musical chairs, whatever you want to call it. You know, once Aaron Rodgers comes out of his 4-day darkness retreat,
What an idiot.
We'll get to that in a minute, but
Yeah.
I think Derek Carr is the one guy for what you could get him for. I don't think he's going to want $40-50 million.
No.
Now, of course, we're talking about crazy money no matter what, but I think you offer him 4 years, $120 million, somewhere like New Orleans, good place, good fan base, good place to set down roots in terms of, yes, it is a violent city, but you have to understand most cities are violent. You just had to learn where to live. Of course, he's not going to be living in the French Quarter. He's going to be living in a mansion off of Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. So, other coordinators on the move. Brian Flores, not waiting around for the Cardinals to make a decision. He's taken over as the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, who desperately needs help calling that defense.
Yeah, this is a big swing for Minnesota. And I think it's a good move because their window is shutting very quickly.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has maybe got a year or two left. Justin Jefferson, you're going to have to decide to pay him or get rid of him when his rookie contract expires. Dalvin Cook is not getting any younger.
No.
Adam Thielen's probably a year or two away from retirement.
Yeah, they've got probably one run left.
Yeah. And if Aaron Rodgers does indeed leave Green Bay, which by all accounts it looks like that's going to happen,
a solid possibility.
The Vikings should dominate that division for the next year or two. Yeah. Until, of course, the mighty Chicago Bears
get their heads out of their asses and puts a team together.
And we'll talk about them in a second.
Yep. Fired Steve Wilkes, lands in San Francisco as the Niners' new defensive coordinator.
And this is the thing. When you have an organization, when you have a team that has prestige, that has a history, you lose DeMeco Ryans as he takes an upward step as a head coach for the Houston Texans. That is a cherished spot. And even if Steve Wilkes, yes, he got screwed over by the Carolina Panthers, he did everything they asked of him.
And then some.
This is the soft landing spot, the golden parachute for Steve Wilkes.
This is perfect for him.
This will get him. I think Brian Flores and Steve Wilkes are both in perfect positions. These are launching points for them to become head coaches
once again.
And then we can stop listening to the bitching and pissing and moaning and crying about there's not enough minority candidates. We're getting there. We are getting there. Just let it organically happen.
Let it play out. And you still don't have a head coach in Arizona or Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis scares me.
That's just a cluster.
The longer this goes, the more I think they're going to go with Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to be pretty.
One more coordinator move, which again will in the long run, I think, help out in terms of stabilizing the minority hires in the NFL in terms of head coaching. Now, Sean Payton wanted his own people. He wanted his own guys in as he took over the job in Denver. He's told Russell Wilson, no personal quarterback coach, buddy.
Yep, no personal coaches coming into the facility at all.
Denver might be the fun train wreck of all time this year to watch.
Yeah, as discipline will reign supreme.
But it's a ballsy move on Sean Payton's part to let Ejiro Evero go because he had that Denver Broncos defense set up perfectly.
Yeah.
But again, I understand, new coach coming in, you want your guys.
Yeah, you want the people you know you can count on.
And just like we talked about Kellen Moore getting snatched up in 2 seconds when the Cowboys let him go, Chargers say, we'll take him. Evero is out there for about 5 milliseconds, and Frank Reich and the Panthers bring him in as their defensive coordinator. So if Derek Carr goes to the Saints, and you've got Reich and now Ivero running that defense. Those are the two teams. The Buccaneers, you get what you deserve.
The Buccaneers are trash.
You get what you deserve. You put Tom Brady out there with the worst coach of the last 15 years, in my opinion, who's gotten not one, but two jobs. Todd Bowles. And you fire Byron Leftwich, who I actually liked as an offensive coordinator. The Buccaneers are now, all of a sudden, they're being looked at as a team that's going to tank.
Yep.
To try to get the kid from USC.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
So we'll see how that rolls out. It's not going to help them until they get a better head coach.
All right. Now, Dave did some research last week. We didn't get to it on last week's episode, but, of course, the NFL salary cap went up $16.6 million, now up to $224.8 million.
Yep. So, God, that's a hell of a lot of money these guys have to play around with. And in addition to that, the league also set the amounts for the franchise tags, which the money's getting up there. What was it? The guaranteed salary for a quarterback is $32,416,000 guaranteed for 1 year.
And right now you're looking at Daniel Jones as the one guy that jumps to mind where that could apply.
Yeah. So, and then it seriously drops off from there down to who's got it? Linebackers just over 20 million. So
that's a lot for a linebacker.
Yeah.
That is a lot for a linebacker.
Corners 18 million, defensive ends 19 million, offensive linemen 18, wide receivers 19.7.
And the thing is,
and the lowly running back now,
I was going to say,
just over 10 million.
That's why the Giants, they're the ones that this whole conundrum speaks to the most, because they have got both a quarterback and a running back going into free agency. So they have to decide which one are they going to try to re-sign, which one are they going to tag. Now, you want to give Saquon Barkley the tag if he's only going to be 10, 11 million.
Yeah. Makes the most financial sense.
But again, if I'm the Giants, do I trust Daniel Jones long-term to be my quarterback?
I don't think so. I think you try and get maybe a 3-year deal with Barkley.
See, I'm with you. I know Barkley has got injury history. I know he's got an injury history.
Like a 3-year deal for Barkley. He wants to stay with the Giants. He doesn't want to break the bank. Offer him 3 at 45, guarantee 25.
See, I don't see. This is why we should be running all the teams.
And then you franchise Jones.
One more prove it year. One more
prove it year.
Yep.
And then you go from there.
Yeah. See, because here's the thing, and I'm with you 100%. And everybody else seems to be on the opposite side of things. They say, lock up the quarterback. Running backs are devalued. You can get another running back.
You've got a proven back.
Last year, healthy, proved he is one of the top 4 or 5 running backs in the league. And I'm sorry, maybe it's because I'm old school. I'm not devaluing the running backs as much as everybody else. You have a great running back, Christian McCaffrey. You've got Derrick Henry. Now you got Saquon Barkley enters in the conversation after that. If he is healthy, I know it's an if because he has had injury issues, but if he's healthy, he is definitely worth 11, 12, 13 million a year, as opposed to Daniel Jones, where I just wonder if under the pressure of having to perform for a contract this year, he didn't peak.
Yeah, do approve it. One more year. Can you repeat what you did?
Yeah. I want to see the system with Brian Daboll work for one more year.
Yep, exactly.
But who, Dave? Who has the most room under the projected 2023 salary cap?
That would be the Chicago Bears. They have the most cap space with more than $91 million to spend.
And the first pick in the draft, which they should barter.
Every projection shows taking the defensive guy from Alabama.
But again,
you can get him at 3 or 4.
Those projections usually they try to not project trades.
Right.
They just say straight up who's
if
the
best.
Bears had to pick at number 1, yes.
You take it. But you're trading out. You are gaining more draft stock.
Let everybody else, the Colts, the Texans, the Panthers, let them sweat it out.
Let them panic.
Take
and
it.
Offer the world and take advantage of them the way that Ryan Pace got taken advantage of, moving up one spot to get Mitch frickin' Trubisky.
Exactly. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, at the top of the segment, the state of Tennessee is trying to propose. I said a federal holiday. I'm sorry. It's a state holiday. Tennessee wants a state holiday. This is proposed by 2 Democratic congressmen. Super Bowl Monday. Wouldn't we all love to see that? Because I guarantee the minute one state pushes it through, every other state is going to have to.
Dominoes are going to fall.
Every other state is going to have to do it. Because the other people across the country. It's going to be
another one of those holidays like frickin' President's Day or Martin Luther King Jr. Day, where, yes, it's a holiday, but places are still open.
Well, I don't see it a federal holiday. I don't see the federal government making it a holiday for the postman. This, I think, is going to have to go state by state by state.
Yeah, but still, people are still going to be open.
Right.
So not all employers are going to allow it to be a paid day off.
Yeah, because I think they're talking about potentially replacing, Columbus Day or Indigenous Persons Day, whatever they call it now.
Yeah. You know what? That would be fine because at this time of year, you have nothing guaranteed as a day off.
No, this is the long drought.
Sloth.
From Martin Luther King Jr. Day all the way through to Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Right? So one guy who doesn't have to worry about taking days off or worrying about holidays is Tom Brady. Because, of course, as we talked about last week, Tom Brady, the GOAT, is officially retired.
Yep.
But a nice little move.
Yes. Shows that he's trying to take the broadcasting gig seriously and talk to Fox and says, I don't want to start 2023. I want to start 2024. I want to learn what it takes. I want to be able to be my best. I need to learn.
And plus, he's got a ton more underwear commercials to do.
He's got that. He wants to spend time with the kids. So he needs to get away for a while and decompress.
Now,
he needs to go on one of those 4-day darkness retreats.
But Tom Brady's not a jackass, so he won't.
That's right.
He'll just find a supermodel to bang.
And life will be good.
I am hoping, because I say this with all due respect to Tom Brady, and I understand Fox went overboard signing him to this massive deal.
They panicked.
I hope Greg Olson somehow gets an opportunity here in the next month or two. Whether, again, Al Michaels is sick of Kirk Herbstreit in the Amazon booth.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. But I want Greg Olson to come out of this on top.
Yeah, Greg Olson has been fantastic.
Yes, and even he'll get a pay raise, a pay bump for another year, I imagine, with Burkhart, with Fox.
They've found a nice routine together.
He needs to land on his feet after this coming season.
Yeah, he's put Fox in a very difficult position because he's shown how great he can be.
Right.
And he's only going to get better.
And he's only going to get better. You didn't have to pay him all that much money.
Yeah, and he's only getting better.
Do we care about the Pro Bowl?
No.
I don't understand what happened. You get points for these little skills competitions and the flag football. So the NFC beat the AFC 35-33.
Whoop-de-doo. I didn't watch any of it.
Neither did I. AJ Green, great receiver. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer.
No, not a Hall of Famer.
AJ Green retires. Most of his career, of course, with the Bengals.
Yep.
A couple years at the end with the Arizona Cardinals. And I guess that's it. I guess it's time to move on to the Super Bowl.
Yep, time to make the picks.
Now, kids, keep in mind here, we have our Sports Frenzy competitions. So,
there's a lot hinging upon this.
The football picks end up being the final of our 5 competitions. We go through March Madness. We go through baseball season. We go through NASCAR season, the Cup season. We go through football picks and fantasy football. Now, am I happy about the way things have gone this year? No. We had to go to a desperate last chance tiebreaker in baseball. We had to, with the mess that was the Bills-Bengals game, go with projected points in that game to decide in Week 16 our champion, which was me. So I feel dirty. I feel a little dirty in that I have won the 2 of the 4 championships so far. Not under suspect situations.
But it's come down to the wire.
It's come down to this. The Big Blue W and I are going for it. He is one behind. He has the tiebreakers from what I project. If Pat Mahomes wins the MVP, which it looks like he will,
whatever,
he will win the tiebreaker. So he's one behind. So if he wins
the Super Bowl
and we don't have the same pick, he will win. I will get knocked out of first place in the Pen of Frenzy. Aaron, the Big Easy, will win it. We have done everything we possibly could. Price Waterhouse is involved. We have done everything well, actually, it's just a conquistador, but he is more reputable than Price Waterhouse.
And it wasn't molding in a mason jar under Funkin' Wagnall's front porch.
So, we're going to give you a little analysis here, and we're going to talk about Super Bowl. Eagles, Chiefs. I know who Dave is out of it. He's going to end up being short by a game or 2.
Yep, it happens.
All right. What are we looking at in terms of the Eagles versus the Chiefs in your eyes before we get to the final picks? How do you analyze this game?
It's going to come down to the quarterback play. Whose injury is going to rear its ugly head? Is it going to be Hurts' shoulder or Mahomes' ankle? And if both of them are dinged up enough that they can't quite do what they need to, I can see this being a running game. And that falls to the Eagles.
I looked at it like this, and I agree with everything you've said. I like the Eagles on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yes. That Eagles defense is so much more stout.
I am looking at the Eagles to do the same thing a few years ago that the Buccaneers did to the Chiefs. and they are going to push up the middle. They are going to make Patrick Mahomes make quick decisions. And you and I have always said, we have never understood how Travis Kelce is always so wide open. I do not think that will happen in this game.
You can check him at the line of scrimmage. Do it. Knock them off the timing route. Double cover him. They have nobody else. Nobody else is a threat.
Now, the one thing I will dispute you on is that I think the running game is kind of equal, because now the Chiefs have activated Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So now you've got three. He
was useless.
But you've got another set of fresh legs with Pacheco, with McKinnon.
Then maybe it's a match at this
Then you
point.
match Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, who I think is the sneaky good pick for MVP for this game. And then Boston Scott, I think it's a wash.
The running backs are watch. But the line of scrimmage play.
The wide receivers and the line of scrimmage on both sides go to the Eagles, because I've got to believe A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to stand out in this game.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney cares more about his rap career than he does about playing football. Mecole Hardman is out. So I can't expect Marquez Valdes-Scantling to have another phenomenal game like the one he did against the Bengals in the AFC Championship. I have to take the Eagles. They're the more talented team. I don't think the pressure will get to Nick Sirianni.
All right.
Andy Reid has a history. He's won one. I'm not taking that away from him. He's won one. But he loses a lot when it comes to Super Bowls and championship games. I am taking the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, to win the Super Bowl.
There you go. All right. We have 5 Eagles picks and 3 Chiefs picks. We have the Eagles for Kevin, myself, the elder statesman, Doug, and Aaron. Bill leads the charge for the Chiefs, along with Jen and Nick. So we will have, you can win it outright, or it goes to the tiebreaker.
I had a feeling Bill was going with the Chiefs because that was his pick in the tiebreakers.
Yes. He stuck with it.
And I was thinking, should I try to block Alex for the block? Yes, I know Alex Trebek didn't do tic-tac-toe, but I had to pick the team that I think is going to win the game, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, as Dave and I have just talked about, it's got to be the offensive line. It's got to be the defensive line. Even with Lane Johnson, with the groin issue, is still phenomenal. And I don't trust Steve Spagnuolo, and I don't trust that Kansas City defense. I just don't.
No.
And if you look at what Kansas City has done this year, and yes, I'm justifying my pick.
Because that's what you need to do.
They lost to the best teams in the AFC. They lost to the Bills. They lost to the Bengals in the regular season. And they should have lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship.
Yep, the Bengals
self-destructed. The Eagles lost for the most part when Hurts was injured and Gardner Minshew was quarterback.
Yep.
I think that Eagles team as a whole, the roster is so much better.
It is. It's the more complete roster, especially on the lines.
All right, so there you go.
All right.
The Penta Frenzy for 2022. 2023 is on the line. Bill's going to be happy about this. He's going to be ecstatic.
So there you go.
There you go. I got to watch the Super Bowl now and worry about the Super Bowl and not just the stupid-ass commercials.
All right, stay tuned for segment 2 coming right up.
Greetings, sports fans. Listen to the screaming geniuses of Sports Frenzy 2.0 every Thursday as they bring you the thrill of victory and the agony of stupidity on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. And check out the Facebook page, Sports Frenzy 2.0.
All right, kids, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0. Segment 2 coming at you on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Recording February 8th, 2023. This will hit Thursday, as always, the 9th.
He's the conquistador Dave Height.
He's the maestro Kevin Crane.
And of course, if it wasn't for the fact this was Super Bowl week, dare I say it, shockingly, I think the NBA would have led us off this week with the two big stories that they had. But of course, thank God for the
Super
NFL.
Bowl week.
Because we've got to talk about two entitled, spoiled brats, the poster children for what is wrong with the NBA over the last decade.
Yep. So first off, congratulations to LeBron James, now the all-time scoring leader.
Passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He now has 38,390 points. Of course, again, all-time leading scorer for the NBA. And with all grace and class, when they stop the game and acknowledge it, he's got to drop an F-bomb. Because that's the kind of class act he is.
Yeah,
and you wonder why
cool.
Dave and I rip on him week after week after week. And all you sycophants who love him to no end.
That's what you get.
He is a classless act. No, not the band. But he is a classless act. And I will never acknowledge him as one of the top 5 players of all time. Not even close. He would have to pull off a minor miracle here in the last few years of his career for me to acknowledge him as such. I will always take Michael Jordan #1. I will always take Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant even, ahead of LeBron James.
Dr. J.
Well, I love personally Dr. J, so I'm recusing myself from that one. Dr. J is my man. You know, I don't want to prop up my favorite player.
Yeah. You know, all this talk of scoring, I started looking back through all-time scoring leaders and where guys
Bill Russell. How could I forget Bill Russell?
Yeah.
You know,
he was the
Didn't mean to interrupt.
But guys on the scoring, looking at games played, how many points they had, and then you go back down a little bit and you look at all the past players who played before the three-point era.
Right.
And how many of those guys dropped those long-range bombs consistently?
Well, the thing with Kareem, it was always 2-point shots. It was a sky hook.
Yeah.
But you couldn't defend it.
No, there was no defense
deadly
against
with it. And again, like you said, it was before the era of the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to the point where we're going to have to compare Steph Curry versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Steph Curry versus Wilt Chamberlain.
You go back, Jerry West, Pistol Pete marriage.
Outside shooters.
Pistol Pete played less than 700 games and has over 15,000 points, but most of his were the long-range shots.
And I think that's a great point of comparison. Pistol Pete was undervalued, underrated, because he didn't have the championships that a lot of these other players did.
And he played, like I said, he has under 700 games played. But 15,000 points still. What would that project out with the threes?
And I'm sorry. Number one, we've said this on Sports Frenzy over and over again through the months, through the years. He's a mercenary. He has jumped from team to team to team to team just to find his soft landing spot. And now it's backfired on him with the Lakers. And boo-hoo, boo-hoo, he's only going to end up with 4 titles.
Oh, well.
Whereas MJ's got 6. And again, why I had to jump in with Bill Russell. You're talking double-digit championships with Bill Russell.
Yeah, Bill Russell, all-time great.
And I'm sorry, he has not been. LeBron James has not been the best ambassador for the game with the ties to China, ignoring his ties to China while he whines and cries about other social issues when he's forced to.
Yeah. No,
I think he's a phony. I think he's a jerk. And you just saw it. He can't even go through an acceptance speech or acknowledgement for the record he sets, one of the greatest records in sports history, without cursing.
In a family environment.
Speaking of classless acts, speaking of people who are near and dear to the heart of LeBron James, we would have to go to his buddy, Kyrie Irving, who he desperately wanted to get traded to the Lakers because the eyebrow isn't enough. Street clothes isn't enough.
Yeah.
We've got to get the most disruptive, malfeasant basketball player out there. And the Nets, good for the Nets. The Nets said,
they
screw
cut
that.
The cancer out of the organization.
And they said, we're not sending you to where you want to go, to the West Coast.
Nope.
We know you want to go to the Lakers or the Clippers. We're going to send you to the Shark Tank boy who thinks he's so much smarter than everybody else, Mark Cuban.
Yep. So, Mr. Irving goes to Dallas. Yeah, that... I don't know how that's going to work out.
I feel bad, number one, for one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league right now.
For Luka
Doncic. How is this going to end? But here's the thing that everybody's saying. Because of the coach with the Mavericks is one Jason Kidd, who was also a petulant, temperamental point guard. So maybe Jason Kidd will know how to
massage his ego.
But again, Mark Cuban, I hate Mark Cuban. I can't stand him. He's one of those rich, know-it-all assholes. He's got one title because of Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, he was a breath of fresh air when he first came into the league, but has become such an entitled, pompous asshat.
And you know Kyrie's going to want that extension.
Oh, yeah. You know he
wants it. Do you honestly believe he is going to play as hard as possible the rest of this year without an extension? I don't. And
I don't
his
either.
Press conferences, oh my God, what a delusional human being he is. I was disrespected in New York.
Nobody ever respected my views. I was never wanted. Blah, blah. Cry me a river. How about you did it to yourself? You alienated everyone around you.
He was the most self-destructive persona I have ever seen in basketball.
And there's been a few over the years.
A few weeks ago, he deleted his apology about the whole anti-Semitic situation with the movie.
Yeah.
You know, well, people didn't understand who I really am. And there's Jewish people in my family. But his definition of Jewish people is part of the problem.
Yeah, he doesn't get it.
I feel good for the fans of the Nets. They get back Spencer Dinwiddie, who was with them before. He was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So good to get him back for the Nets. Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, here's the thing that's just stupid about the NBA. Stupid. At least with the NFL, there's a cap. you can only go forward a certain number of years when you're trading draft picks.
Right.
The Nets get Spencer Dinwiddie back. They get Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 number one pick, a 2027 number 2, and a 2029 number 2.
Oh, come on.
I think Markieff Morris went back to the Mavericks in the deal as well. But come on.
That is absolutely ridiculous to go out that
You have
damn
no
far.
idea.
Oh, my God.
What a 2029 number 1 pick,
is going to
whether
look
it's
like.
Unprotected or not, is going to look like. It's stupid. It's just stupid.
That's asinine beyond belief.
Now, of course, Dave and I, because we do this on Wednesday night, we're going to get screwed. Tomorrow night is the draft or the trade deadline. So there'll be some big deals probably tomorrow night. I'll have to talk about next week because next week I'll be flying solo.
Yep, we have a concert on our usual taping night, and there's other interference for me to try and do any other.
Which is all good.
We go.
We put rock and roll first. Check out the weekend edition, by the way.
Shameless plug.
As this week we talk about the Winery Dogs, catch up on The Last of Us.
And there could be a book review in there as well.
And I have a movie review to catch up with one that Dave reviewed a month ago. So, check that out Saturday morning. Your Saturday morning hangover cure. Steph Curry. Partial leg tears. This is interesting. This whole diagnosis, because it's not really like a torn up knee.
No, it's kind
very
of
odd contusions and he will be out until after the All-Star game, which puts it at the end of February. The Warriors are just trying to hang on in the West.
Just kind of stay within striking distance.
Avoid that play-in tournament.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson had a great game the other night, so hopefully he can step up after missing a lot of time.
Yeah, it's his turn.
Yeah, he needs to carry the load for a while. Here's what I love. We talked about Kyrie Irving leaving the Nets and disrespected. Nobody cared about me. I'm now in a place where people seem to care. What always happens? We can go back to the legend of Tom Brady when Drew Bledsoe got knocked out, right?
Yep.
With the kidney, he got hit in the side.
Lacerated.
Right, the lacerated kidney. What's the great baseball analogy?
When Lou Gehrig came in. You can lose your starting role because of injury.
But in this case, because you're a petulant bitch like Kyrie Irving, congratulations. I wanted to make him, and I probably still could. In fact, I will. This is my Clint Eastwood badass of the week for sports. The Nets, Cam Thomas. Kevin Durant injured. Kyrie Irving,
gone.
Bitching, pissing, moaning, traded, gone. Cam Thomas becomes the youngest player ever in the NBA to score 40 or more points in 3 straight starts.
Good for him.
Wallowing, sitting on the bench behind all these overpriced, arrogant assholes, Cam Thomas just made himself a boatload of money.
Bona fide
And how many
starter.
other players are sitting on benches all across the NBA?
Behind these little babies.
I hope the NBA looks at this and realizes and takes note that maybe some of these guys we got on the bench.
Maybe we don't have to overpay these egomaniacal twits. We've got young, hungry players who want to prove themselves.
That's the way it should be. That is the way it should be. That's why we don't want guaranteed contracts.
Exactly.
Let the younger players coming up with the hunger, the fire, prove themselves.
Give them the opportunity.
All right, moving on to NASCAR. Or thank God that one of the last sports where there aren't petulant babies. Oh, wait. Yeah, I forgot Kyle Busch. Yeah, Kyle Busch got arrested in January.
In Mexico. Getting on his private plane, coming back to the United States, gets arrested for being in possession of a loaded handgun.
At the Cancun International Airport.
How did he get out of the United States with it? I know it was a private plane.
I don't understand how anybody thinks
And
they can get
why
on a
did he
plane or
think-
off a plane with a gun.
Exactly.
But again, it's the entitlement.
It has to be in checked baggage, secured. We know that. But you can't go to a foreign country with one. He doesn't have an international concealed carry. It's one thing from state to state where they recognize each other's permits. But this is just absolutely stupid.
This goes, you could even take this back to...
This belongs in
Brittany
the
Griner.
dumbass of the year.
Well, again, if you are traveling to another country, just assume anything and everything
It's
that's
illegal.
Moderately.
If it's questionable, don't do it.
Thank you.
Use some damn common sense, people.
In the, what I like to call, it's official segment here in NASCAR. We've talked about it for months. It's official. Kevin Harvick will go into the Fox booth in 2024 to pair with his doofus friend, Clint Boyer. And I say that with all... I love Clint Boyer. I say that with all due love and respect.
Yes.
This is going to be fun.
Boyer makes it fun.
Yes. Harvick and Boyer together with Mike Joy will be a great trio in the booth.
Yeah. Just they got to make sure they keep Mike Joy for as long as he wants to do it. The guy is brilliant. He knows everything.
Well, we've talked about it. You and I. We wish Fox had NASCAR the whole year.
Yeah.
They're so much better than NBC. It's ridiculous. I would love to see Fox have the whole thing for the whole year.
I read an op-ed piece on Yahoo Sports about the coverage of the Clash and how Fox is so much better than NBC because the guy who wrote it says, if I'm out of the room, I have no idea who's talking. If it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jeff Burton or Steve Letarte, I can't tell their voices. They all sound the same.
Yeah, we're now with
Now,
Fox. You've got Tony Stewart did this.
But why are you focusing on one team? You've got Stuart Haas taking over the booth with Mike Joy.
Yeah, but you've also got two of the more interesting personalities in NASCAR.
You do.
They just happen to be on the same team.
Yeah.
The other part of it's official, which we kind of figured was coming because he couldn't stay away. He's been creeping back into the news, creeping back in. I want to run the Daytona 500 now. Jimmy Johnson will run the Chicago Street Course race in 2023.
That's one of his bucket list races. That's why he bought into the team.
He should have just come back and run the whole season.
Yeah,
considering
he
he's
didn't
going to
want to
run,
put the
what, 6, 7, 8 races?
Yeah.
He should have run the whole schedule.
Yeah,
just come back.
Then he wouldn't have been able to do the Le Mans.
You're right. You're right. I guess we should talk about the Clash at the Coliseum.
Can we please forget about that train wreck that was pre-race activities?
I have to be honest. I watched all of the heat races.
See,
I did not watch the main event. I couldn't. It's too small of a track. It
actually was, the main event was actually pretty damn entertaining.
Martin Truex wins. Eric Almirola was on the pole.
Yep. Yeah. Bubba Wallace up there for a while. Ryan Preece would have won that race. He came from the back. He ran the outside to make all his moves to get himself up there. Ran a hell of a race. I think he led the most laps. And in the final 10, electrical issues. And he faded back.
Well, you figure with better equipment, and now he's all of a sudden looking at being next year the number 2 driver, possibly.
Yeah.
For Stewart Haas.
Yeah, Preece looked really damn good. But
we've always said, you give these guys the backing of the bigger teams and the better equipment and put them up in priority in terms of testing and practice, they're going to be better.
Yep, and it's a short bull ring of a track, quarter mile. That's what Preece grew up racing in the modifieds, and he knew how to run it. This exhibition race only, please let it go away after next year with the
no, Dave, no, I have to stop you right there. Put on the brakes, because with the Fontana construction,
you cannot run 40 cars on a quarter mile track.
The rumor is they are looking into making the Clash at the Coliseum a points race for at least 2024, if not 24 and 25.
And every driver has said, no, it's a stupid idea. It won't work. You're going to be bumper to bumper with that many cars on the track. It's not feasible.
I agree completely. That's why I didn't want to watch the Clash, is because it's too small of a track.
It's an exhibition only.
It's too small of a track.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't enjoy watching the main event, because I still think there's too many cars on that track for the main event.
They were smashing the hell out of each other left and right.
That's why they have the heat races the way they do.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's no. Abject disaster to make that a points race. And they couldn't even fill it for this.
I did, again, because I didn't watch the main event, I was thinking the same thing when I was watching the heat races and I saw the stands, and I was like, come on. Is this a typical late arriving California crowd?
It filled in a little bit more as it got started, but it wasn't near capacity.
See, then I'm done.
And the whole intro thing with that, I can't even think of his name now, the doofus who's on that animal control show.
Oh, Joel McHale.
Yeah, introducing the drivers. He was a complete moron.
Well, that's a complete and total promo for Fox.
It was.
That's all it is.
That's all it was. It was a disaster. The music was stupid. Everything
we talked about
it was Hollywood stupid.
We talked about the fact that they picked music, for the most part, that doesn't appeal to the core NASCAR crowd.
So it was just bad.
So I'm not going to watch it on my DVR? Is that what you're telling me?
Don't watch the pre-race stuff. Fast forward through. There were some good racing segments in there.
All right.
Where there was some good passing.
Because God knows there's nothing on Saturday.
Bumping and banging around.
No football on Saturday. No wrestling, no nothing. Jesus God.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with myself? Let's talk F1. Let us talk about Formula One. Number one, Ford is returning to F1 in 2026, partnering with Red Bull Powertrains.
It'd be interesting to see how that rolls out.
And even though they haven't even run the inaugural event yet in Las Vegas, this coming November is the first Las Vegas Grand Prix. They have already approved, the city has already approved, that they will allow the Las Vegas Grand Prix for F1 through 2032. Here's my thing. We don't have any baseball news this week, but let me just say this. If we're going all in on Vegas, we've got a hockey team there, we've got F1, We've got NASCAR. We've got the NFL. Just sell the goddamn Oakland A's to Las Vegas already so we can have at least a competitive team that doesn't have a payroll of 47 cents.
Exactly.
Okay? Just get it over with.
Rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it.
Let LeBron have his Las Vegas basketball team.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Brownies.
We know eventually here in the next 5 years, Vegas will have every major sport, every race, everything.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just get it over with like a Band-Aid.
Just
rip it right off.
Happen.
Just especially get the Oakland A's
the hell out of the Bay Area
and move them to Vegas so they can spend money and become a viable team.
Again, like they once were.
And that's something we've got to discuss in a couple weeks, by the way, is I have heard rumors about a major, drastic
realignment
in Major League Baseball involving 2 expansion teams.
It's going to be an absolute cluster.
We will talk about that once that might get closer to fruition. Involves Charlotte having an expansion team and Nashville having an expansion team.
It's going to throw a lot of things out of whack.
Yep. Now, of course, the little bit we've got to talk about with college football has to impact Dave's team and my team in negative ways. Maybe my team, maybe your team.
Potentially.
Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, lose offensive coordinator Tommy Rees to Alabama.
Bye-bye, Tommy. See ya. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm just not impressed with his play calling at all last season.
But you have rumors.
But there are reports that have been coming out over the last day or so that Byron Leftwich has reached out to Marcus Freeman with interest in Notre Dame's offensive coordinator position. That would be a hell of a coup.
That'd be a great, great, great hire for Notre Dame.
That would be phenomenal. Having a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and the fact that he was stuck with the awful, idiotic head coach that he was this past year. Just look at Tom Brady's numbers. Look at his numbers. Sets a record for most attempts, most completions. 45 years old. Byron Leftwich will bring an unbelievable wealth of knowledge to the Fighting Irish.
Absolutely.
Will I root for them? No. Will I hate them as much as I do? Probably not. Of course, Alabama couldn't just screw over Notre Dame. They had to screw over the Miami Hurricanes, too.
I was not screwing over Notre Dame. I was done with Rees, as was a number of Irish fans.
So Alabama takes Notre Dame's offensive coordinator, and they also poach the defensive coordinator from the Miami Hurricanes. Kevin Steele is now going to be Nick Saban's defensive coordinator at Alabama. So Miami, of course, this is the game. This is what happens. You're going to have to screw over a smaller school.
Yep. You keep poaching.
But this to me is sad. Not because of what Miami did. They're just playing the game. But here's the thing. Lance Guidry is now the new defensive coordinator for Miami. Now he comes over from Tulane. Oh, wait, though. He technically had been with Tulane for 1 month.
Yeah.
Because they had hired him from Marshall. What happened to signing a contract commitment to a job? This is really tough for me.
It's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. You do not even do anything yet for the team that you signed with, and then you're already jumping ship.
And
I
this
hate
is not the only time we've seen that this offseason.
No.
I'm not ripping on Miami for this.
No,
but it's sad.
It's stupid, rampant stuff. It's as bad as the damn transfer portal.
Yes. Yeah. So Miami takes their new defensive coordinator from Tulane, who took them from Marshall, and it's all happened in the same 2-month span.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
All right, kids. Moments of silence. And Dumbass or Not, America's favorite game show, coming up next. The Conquistador will try to guess the stupid people in the sports world, coming up next. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success. Segment 3, Sports Frenzy 2.0. We're on a darkness retreat. Dave and I were shutting off our phones. We're staying away from all humanity to make a decision on where our next podcast platform host, who they'll be, where they'll be. And then we're going to do a ayahuasca cleanse. So we're going to poop and pee and puke everything up. And then you will
psychedelic visions.
Oh, hallucinations, yes. About Shailene Woodley and the owner's daughter for the Milwaukee Bucks. No, we're not doing that crap. We're taping here on February the 8th, 2023. This will hit February the 9th. He's the Conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the Maestro, Kevin.
And we're
Craig.
not doing a darkness cleanse, retreat, whatever like.
We're rational human beings.
Our favorite idiot, Aaron Rodgers. Before we get into moments of silence.
How can anybody take him seriously on any level?
He is like Kyrie Irving. They talk and you just go, what the hell are you spouting out of your mouth? We don't believe you. Everything that comes out of your mouth is pretentious bullshit. So now Aaron Rodgers is going to go on a 4-day darkness retreat to decide his future.
You know he's staying. He's going to play at least one more year because he will not retire at the same time.
No, I don't think he's going to retire. But this whole dramatic thing, and he was mad last week because he kind of implied that these meetings were going on behind the scenes without him being involved.
He doesn't need to be
Russell
involved.
Wilson, a la Kyler Murray, where these egotistical, underwhelming, underachieving quarterbacks think they need to be in the room. Did you ever hear Tom Brady talk like this?
No.
Did you ever hear Peyton Manning talk like this?
No.
I don't hear Josh Allen talking like this. I don't hear Patrick Mahomes talking like this.
No, it's your petulant, entitled babies who think they have more power than they actually do.
You're getting paid.
Shut up
what
and
you're
play,
supposed to do.
Shut up and play the game.
Oh, but do you think this ends with the darkness retreat? No, it doesn't end with the darkness retreat because this past weekend at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am,
God.
Aaron Rodgers won, quote unquote, won with his partner, Ben Silverman. But Josh Allen, fellow NFL quarterback, and his partner Keith Mitchell called bullshit because Aaron Rodgers submitted a handicap between 2 and 3. I'm not sure which 2 or 3, but 10 is what they actually played with him at. So he got 7 to 8 strokes more than he was supposed to. So Aaron Rodgers
manipulated the
now
system.
he said because he hasn't played in over a year.
Oh, bull crap.
That's why the whole handicap numbers got screwed up. Josh Allen and Keith Mitchell both claim Aaron Rodgers is between a 2 and a 3 handicap at best. I mean, that's where he should be. Yeah. And for him to claim a 10 handicap
is absolute garbage.
So they're claiming he cheated.
Yeah. He did in that regard.
I don't understand handicap. I don't get it. I know that the worse golfer you are, the bigger the handicap you get when you're playing a good golfer.
Yeah.
So
you get X number of shots, blah, blah, blah.
And people were saying, well, we don't know if Josh Allen and Keith Mitchell were joking around. They were not joking around.
No.
They legitimately believe Aaron Rodgers cheated.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And again, I'm mixing this whole thing up with the numbers. I know, and I apologize. But again, I don't understand the handicap thing. Aaron Rodgers claimed to be the higher handicap
than he actually is.
Than most people say that he is. 7 to 8 strokes better
than what he claims.
Right. And I believe Josh Allen and his partner lost by 4.
Yeah. So there you go.
I believe that would have made them the winners of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. But again, what else would you expect from Mr. Ayahuasca Cleanse, Darkness Retreat, Lateral Thinker, douchebag of all time, Aaron Rodgers? We should just dedicate a segment each and every week
to Aaron Rodgers.
Well, we should,
his stupidity.
I would never want to rename the dumbasses of the week because, of course, we love Red Foreman. He is near and dear to our hearts. That will never happen. But there, in some way, shape, or form, I feel like we should honor Aaron Rodgers and Kyrie Irving.
I think it should be the Rodgers Irving Dumbass of the Year.
Oh, my God. Because these two, each and every week,
you can find something from them that puts them in the crosshairs.
I can't imagine a conversation with these two.
No. I would not want to I would not want to be forced to have to sit down and talk to either one.
God help us all. God help us all. All right. One moment of silence this week. Former Steelers running back Sidney Thornton. I believe he was running back on 2 of the Steelers championship teams. Thoughts and prayers to his family.
Yep.
Teams that we root for before we get to the game show that America has been waiting and pining for each and every week. College basketball, Purdue, still number 1, even though they lost to Indiana.
Yep, IU with a big upset at Bloomington.
I believe they won big on the women's and the men's side.
Yes.
But Purdue stays number 1. Notre Dame 10-13 as they go valiantly into that good night in Michael Bray's final season.
Yeah, he's checked out. You can tell he just doesn't care.
He's just looking for that next bottle, that next cheap woman, that next slut, that next bottle of Casamigos, Cabo Wabo, whatever it might be.
Night Train. Little Mad Dog thrown in for kicks.
But the team that used to be known for football that's now known for basketball is still kicking ass and taking names. The Miami Hurricanes. Jim Larinaga. They're 19th in the AP poll. 19-5 as they just kicked the crap out of Duke the other night.
That's always a good thing to happen.
So Miami's still hanging in there. As I said, number 19 in the AP poll. They are going to make the tournament, and I think they could be
dangerous.
A Sweet 16 team. I will say that right now. Sweet 16. The Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL
suck.
15, 29, and 5. 35 total points as we tape.
Yep, last in the West. Not last overall. They've got one more point than the Columbus Blue Jackets. Trade deadline's looming. Patrick Kane they've asked him and he said he's undecided on waiving his no trade clause. So we'll see what happens. Rumblings are they've asked Jonathan Taze the same thing. We'll see what happens.
And when's the trade deadline again?
I don't remember. I haven't paid that much attention because there's nothing to pay that much attention to right now.
But these are the two guys that got you 3 Stanley Cups.
I know.
And they could be gone.
They're free agents after this year. Their contracts are up. So I know it's tough, but that's sports business these days.
At least you got the 3.
Yeah.
Not 1, not 2, but 3.
3.
Yes. LeBron couldn't do that in Miami, even though he bragged about it.
That they were going back to back to back.
Taze and Kane did it, LeBron. You couldn't.
Ha, ha, ha.
All right, kids, it is that time. It is time for me to get my Gene Rayburn skinny microphone. It is time to get Dave behind the pedestal with the digital scoring screen.
Let's play Dumbass or Not.
Now, Dave and I have not been on the same page the last couple weeks. Whether you listen to this episode or the weekend edition, hopefully you listen to both.
We've had some dissension.
Yes. Dave has turned into a little bit of a snowflake. So we'll see what happens here.
Kevin's just a bitter old man.
Yes, I am. Get off my lawn, you goddamn teenagers! I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you, you lesbian Velma! Anyway, I'm going to start off with an unnamed dumbass because we don't want to give him credit. We know here in Super Bowl Media Week, this guy did this just to get his name out in the press. So your first potential dumbass of the week is the idiot who asked Philadelphia Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, "Hey coach, Super Bowl, is this a must-win game?"
That is the biggest dumbass question in the history of questions.
That's why we're not giving him any credit. Well, I'm not looking up who it was. I'm not going to give you his name. Yes, no. He should be subjected to scorn and shame and ridicule, but that would be giving him credit for the dumbest question in the history of dumb questions.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Moron.
Now, in the past, we have talked about Mattress Mac.
God, I hate this guy.
Runs a chain of furniture bedding stores in Houston.
Yep.
Mattress Mac, his real name is Jim McIngvale. And he has bet millions upon millions of dollars. Believe he won a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
Arguably, I think $30 million on one bet.
He's always putting up mattresses based on the outcome of certain games.
Right. He says, if I win, you guys can come in and get free betting, or anything you've bought in the last 2 months
is covered.
Right. So this guy, based out of Houston, Texas, has been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Where he's placing multi-million-dollar bets on the Astros, on football, on the Super Bowl. Oh, but now that Texas is looking to legalize sports betting, Mattress Mac says, I don't want it. I don't want legalized sports betting in Texas.
Oh, you Hippocratic dumbass.
Yeah, he's been going over to Louisiana
Yeah.
to make all his bets. But now with Texas looking to finally join most of the rest of the states in legalizing sports betting.
He don't want to pay Texas's taxes.
No, he thinks he has to put in the effort to go to Louisiana. That makes him think about it. This is his logic. He has to think about it. If it's too easy for him to bet, he's going to be betting morning, noon, and night.
Well, so then he's got a problem.
He's a weak human being.
He's a dumbass.
Tom Brady retired. We know that. This is not about Tom Brady. But if any of you out there who have watched the video that he filmed on his phone of him retiring, you could kind of see in the background there were some condos down in Florida, the seagrass, the sand. Well, there are a bunch of people, of course, who had to take advantage of the fact that they figured out where he had been standing or sitting when he had made his announcement to retire. Who cares? Well, those people grabbed up the sand, put it on eBay.
Oh, my God.
And there are estimates that the quote-unquote Brady retirement sand could sell for as much as $100,000. I don't know
who's the bigger dumbass, the morons who went out and collected it, or the idiots who might actually buy it.
Yeah.
This is just
absolutely... Am I getting a certificate of authenticity?
This is stupid beyond stupid.
This is the problem with this country, is that there are people with this kind of money to burn. And I literally mean you might as well just burn it.
Or just wipe your ass and flush it down the toilet.
Yeah. That's just blows my mind that people have this kind of money to spend on Tom Brady's retirement sand. I used to like this guy in terms of sports commentary. I will admit, when he was on ESPN, I listened to him. I thought he might end up growing into one of the best sports voices out there. He's turned into an absolute idiot. He's now on FS1. That would be one Colin Cowherd.
God, he has gotten so horrible.
And you notice he's burning through his co-hosts every couple months. They keep shifting and changing.
Yeah, because nobody can stand him.
On January the 24th, Colin Cowherd talked about how Aaron Rodgers was a perfect fit for the New York Jets. 3 days later, on January the 27th, of course, all documented on FS1, Colin Cowherd says Aaron Rodgers is a terrible fit for the New York Jets.
All right, dumbass, make up your mind. Which is it?
Well, the thing is, you're being recorded.
Yeah.
If anybody would ever catch me doing that, I don't think I have ever done a complete 180 like that. If I have, feel free. Drop us a letter, a line, a comment on the Facebook page or here on the podcast page. But I don't think Dave and I ever have done anything this stupid within a 3-day span where we have done a 180 flip like that.
Without acknowledging that we were doing it.
I was wrong. Things have changed over the last couple days.
Yes.
Now I don't feel that Rodgers is a good fit for the Jets. No, that's not what Colin Cowherd did. He basically just ignored his comments from 3 days earlier.
Because he's a dumbass.
All right, we missed this, part of this. Now, the two, outside of Roger Goodell, the two most important administrators in the NFL are DeMaurice Smith, the head of the NFL Players Association,
Yes.
and Troy Vincent, the NFL Vice President of Football Operations. This is the part we missed. I did not realize back in December, Troy Vincent had said that the scouting combine, which recently has been held in Indianapolis near us,
Right.
Troy Vincent called it, keep in mind, Troy Vincent works for the NFL, not the Players Association. Troy Vincent likened the scouting combine to a quote-unquote slave auction.
Oh!
Now, DeMaurice Smith today has jumped in and said, we need to end the NFL scouting combine because all it does is devalue the players, work against the players. We should only do individual workouts at their behest, where they want, when they want, with only their people attending.
No, you need the combine where you can see these guys next to each other to be able to compare up what's going on.
And you're getting the closest you can to pressure.
Right.
They see somebody run a really good 40 time.
Then they're going to try their best to outdo
But
it.
if they're in their little cushy environment,
they're just going to do
at
what
Alabama
they're do.
where they played, or USC where they played, I don't like, and I find this really offensive.
That's very
and
offensive.
Again, I can't believe we missed this. That Troy Vincent actually called this equivalent of a slave auction.
That's horrible. That is such an ignorant comment. Now, I will say the questions that they ask the players are completely out of line.
Oh, yeah. We've seen some unbelievably
atrocious
asinine questions. We joked earlier about, at the Super Bowl, asking Nick Sirianni, is it a must-win game? But yeah, asking if your mom is a whore. We've had that happen in the past.
Yeah, there's stupid stuff that takes place that needs to be cleaned up.
But calling it a slave auction, or calling an
awful
end for an end to it, because you got to have the players in their little cushy environment. And we didn't really talk much about the Pro Bowl, but
that's a cushy environment.
Yes, again, we are dumbing down the game of football, making it a quote-unquote safe space for not only the current players, but the future players. We have got to toughen them up. That is what football is.
Exactly. No, that's...
Otherwise, let's just all go play pickleball.
No!
Let's see how Pat Mahomes does in pickleball.
I don't want pickleball.
That's where we're going. I'm telling you. There are actually people out there, by the way, that think that what we saw with this Pro Bowl games situation this past weekend, that's
the future.
The future.
God help us.
The NFL will
help us.
Wither and die. Wither and die.
The pansification of our country continues.
All right. So far I'm doing good.
Yes.
So far I'm doing good.
So far
I got
we're on track.
Two more left. And unfortunately, I'm trying to save the most negative for the end. So now this is a guy that I actually liked. He played for the U. He played for the Miami Hurricanes. Looked like coming out of college, going to the pros. I believe he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He looked like he was going to be one of the great tight ends because his father was
one
in
of
my
the great
opinion,
tight ends.
The greatest. But this guy turned out to be a piece of crap.
Kellen Winslow Jr. is a piece of human refuse.
Kellen Winslow Jr. wants his 14-year prison sentence reduced as a serial rapist
No.
because of the quote-unquote physical trauma that he went through playing football.
That is not an excuse, you miserable garbage dumbass.
We're not talking about one incident.
No,
We're
this
talking
is
about multiple incidents, including one involving a homeless woman.
Yeah, the guy is a criminal. He belongs behind bars.
The fact he got 14 years is
Isn't
a
it
miracle.
It's a travesty that he only got 14 years.
Yeah, plea agreements, deals, backdoor deals.
No, the guy does not belong on the streets.
No, and he's going to pull this crap. Oh, I've got CTE. That's what made me do what I did.
No, bull crap. Bull crap.
If you can call a big, monstrous man like him a snowflake, he's a snowflake.
He's a dumbass. He belongs behind bars.
All right, and finally, this one really kind of, I don't want to get too serious on this, but this is one of those instances where, you know, we're all sunshine and flowers and positivity here on Sports Frenzy.
Have you listened to this segment?
But this one really, I mean, this really, honestly, makes me wonder about where we're going as a society. Colorado State's fans recently at a basketball game against Utah State. They have a Ukrainian player on the Utah State team, Max Shulga. And when he went up to the free throw line, they started chanting, Russia, Russia, Russia.
That is absolutely horrendous.
And that's why I'm saying
that is disgusting.
This might go beyond dumbass, just because this makes me wonder. I can't believe it's just a couple drunken kids at Colorado State.
No, that is an organized affront.
And this is the kind of stuff where we do the dumbasses of the week to point out the horrific, the stupid, the idiotic, the immature. But this one actually, when I wrote this down, hurt me. And I wanted to go off on a rant about this.
That's absolutely disgusting that took place.
And we've heard about stuff like this going on in Utah. We've heard about this all across the nation. These horrific chants.
It's
fights
horrible.
In the stands. It's just, what idiot. And if I was the parent of one of these kids who went to Colorado State and was one of these kids that was chanting to this poor Ukrainian kid, Russia.
Done. Bye-bye.
Where are the parents? Again, where are the parents? We have to take responsibility for our children. And I have gone back and forth on this. I have had friends who have told me that we're not responsible. Once our kids hit 18, I'm done.
Oh,
they're not my responsibility. No. And I say that's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
I am responsible for my child in my eyes until the day they die. Or until the day I die. Because that's a reflection on me. That's a reflection on my wife or my ex-wife or the mother. We need to take responsibility for bringing up solid, decent, mature, responsible kids. Otherwise, we're fucked as a nation.
Exactly. You cannot let your kids run rampant and do stupid ass stuff. They need to be held accountable. This whole entitlement shit needs to end.
And that's what we're trying to do here each and every week at the end of each and every episode with the dumbasses of the week, is point out the idiocy, the stupidity of these people, these kids, mature, older, doesn't matter. You could be 10, you can be 110. We will call you out on the Red Foreman dumbasses of the week. I'm just happy because I got them all right this week.
Very well picked.
I wonder if it's going to hold up for the weekend edition now.
We'll have to see.
But for the conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
We are glad you hung out with us.
Check out the weekend edition.
Glad you hung around for our Super Bowl picks. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday responsibly with family and friends. Do not drink and drive. Have a designated driver.
Or just sit in the comfort of your own home.
Which I will be doing.
As will I.
Maybe fire up some bacon-wrapped jalapeno poppers. I had some of those last weekend for the NXT Judgment Day premium live event.
Which
on
we'll
Peacock.
get a report on here coming up in the weekend edition.
Maybe, maybe not. But enjoy it. Have fun. Watch the commercials. Dave and I, in a couple weeks, will review those commercials. He's off next week, by the way. So you'll get solo Kev next week because we're going to see Alter Bridge and Mammoth WBH.
Woohoo!
First concert of 2023. You guys have a great, safe Super Bowl weekend. I'll be back with you next week.
I'll talk to you in a couple.
Take care, kids.